If you're on Retatrutide or you're about to start and your results don't match what you expected, see, there's a good chance that you're making at least 3 of these mistakes right now. And number 3 is the one that most people don't even realize is happening to their body literally as we speak. I'm Dr. Jones, DC, and I coach thousands of patients on GLP-1 optimization strategies, including a growing number on Retatrutide specifically. And this passion of mine comes from my own 100-pound weight loss journey, and now I get to work with my medical practitioners helping people do exactly the same. Here's the thing about Reta that changes everything. You see, it has this third receptor, the glucagon receptor, and that rewires the rules. You know, most of these mistakes, you'd never make them on semaglutide or tirzepatide. So let's get into this. Okay, mistake number 1, and this is the most common one that I see, you're not eating enough. And this can be even worse on Reta compared to the other GLP-1s. Now, I know that sounds backwards. You're on a weight loss medication. Why would eating too little be a problem? See, here's why. When you undereat on any GLP-1, 600, 800, 1,000 calories a day for weeks and months, your body thinks that it's in famine. Your metabolism shifts hard downward, it slows down. You can get the brain fog, the exhaustion, your hair starts thinning. I call this the GLP-1 crash. Your body goes into what I call battery saving mode. Like a phone at 5% or a laptop when you're not plugged in, the laptop is doing everything it can to squeeze out some more time, but everything's slower and it's clunky. Now here's what makes this worse on Retatrutide specifically. That glucagon receptor that I mentioned, it's like revving your metabolism higher than semaglutide or tirzepatide ever would. And based on what we've seen in our clinic, your body is burning more calories than you think it is. I call this the Glucagon Effect. So the same 1,000 calories that might have been low but manageable on tirzepatide on Reta, that's a starvation level deficit because your total daily energy expenditure is higher, which is the amount of calories your body ends up burning at the end of the day. The gap between what you're eating and what you're burning is way bigger than you realize. And that's when the crash hits even harder. The fatigue, the plateau, the weight loss just stops. And most people respond by eating even less, which makes it worse. The fix is simple, but it's counterintuitive. You got to follow me here. You need to eat more. Strategically prioritize protein. Make sure you're actually fueling your body to function, not just surviving on appetite suppression. And if you thought the dosing would work the same way too, that's mistake number 2. In our clinic, a lot of people come to Retatrutide from tirzepatide and they assume that the dosing just sort of transfers, right? So start at 2.5, 5, 7.5. That's the standard tirzepatide dosing. This is the exact staircase that they climbed on tirzepatide, but Reta is a completely different drug. It's hitting 3 receptors instead of 2, and when you start at a dose that felt fine on tirzepatide, you're now activating a whole extra receptor system on top of it. The trial started some patients off at 2 milligrams, but in our clinic, we start most patients off closer to 1, maybe 1.5. And we hold there. We don't rush the titration because there's no reason to do that. And you get into a whole set of troubles that I call the dose escalation trap. The goal isn't to get to the highest dose. It is to find the lowest effective dose. The dose where you're getting results without your body paying a tax. It doesn't need to pay. When you copy-paste tirzepatide dosing onto Retatrutide, you skip right past the sweet spot. And that's the spot that you want to be at where you have optimal appetite control. And then the side effects hit, the nausea, the fatigue, and sometimes even worse. People blame the drug. They say Reta doesn't work, but it's not the drug, it's the dose. And the side effects that I'm talking about, there's one that's happening to a lot of you right now that doesn't even exist on tirzepatide or semaglutide, and that brings us to mistake number 3. You're ignoring your heart rate and the thermogenic effects of Retatrutide. Okay, so you've noticed that your resting heart rate is up 5, 8, 10 or more beats per minute since starting Retatrutide. It's not anxiety in most cases. It's not your cracked out amount of caffeine and pre-workouts. Maybe it is, but we're assuming you've ruled those out. This is largely the glucagon receptor and the glucagon effect taking action. You might be also running warmer than usual. Random sweating, feeling flushed. Some patients describe it as a sense of overheating that just kind of comes out of nowhere. This is what I call the triple-agonist tax. When you're running 3 receptor systems at the same time, your body is likely doing more work. Your heart rate goes up, your internal thermostat runs harder, your calorie burn increases, which ties right back to mistake number 1. Okay, so here's that mistake. It's not that these symptoms are happening, it's that people are completely ignoring them. They don't track their resting heart rate. They don't mention it to their provider. They just push through it. And for most people, these effects are manageable and expected, but you need to be monitoring them because in some patients, the heart rate elevation is significant enough that we hold the dose or adjust the protocol entirely. I've had patients where that cardiac concern was serious enough that my medical providers decided to just pause Retatrutide altogether. The point isn't to scare you off Reta. The point is this: you need to know that this is happening so that you can track it. Okay, so those were the 3 mistakes that you can check on yourself right now. Pull up your heart rate, look at your calories, double check your starting dose. But the next 3, these are the ones that change how you think about Retatrutide entirely. Okay, mistake number 4, you're expecting Reta to kill your cravings the way that Tirzepatide did. This is the one that frustrates people the most, I think. And I noticed it myself too, with taking Tirzepatide versus Retatrutide. So you come from Tirzepatide where food chatter was just gone, right? The constant mental noise about food, gone. And they expect Retatrutide to do the same thing, but even stronger because of its triple-agonist effect. But that's not how it works. Retatrutide suppresses your appetite, don't get me wrong. You will eat less when you hit that sweet spot dose. But what a lot of our patients tell us is it doesn't silence the voices in your head the way that Tirzepatide did. The receptor profile is different. Tirzepatide hits GLP-1 GIP, and that combination is incredibly effective at quieting food chatter for a lot of people, but Reta hits GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon. And that glucagon receptor is doing something the GLP-1 and GIP just don't do. It's mobilizing fat. It's freeing up this fat tissue so that you can burn it. It's increasing your metabolic rate, the amount of calories you burn at rest, and we believe it's driving body recomposition even better. But the trade-off, the subjective craving control, may not feel as strong for a lot of people. And so when people say Reta is weak or Reta isn't impressive compared to Tirzepatide, they're just measuring the wrong thing. They're judging a fat mobilization drug by an appetite suppression standard, and that's like buying a truck for its towing capacity and then complaining that it doesn't handle like a sports car. Reta isn't weak, it's just doing different work. And once you understand that, I think you stop chasing a feeling that this drug was never designed to give you. Okay, so here's the real question. If somebody asked you right now why their Retatrutide wasn't killing their cravings the way that Tirzepatide did, could you explain it? Think about that for a second and go ahead and submit your answers. Okay, if that's hitting home for you right now, if you're on Reta and you feel like it's not doing what you expected, or you're not sure whether to stick with it or switch back, that's exactly the kind of conversation that we have on a free discovery call. You'll get a chance to speak with one of our patient educators who are going to walk through your history, what you've tried, what's frustrating you, and then they're going to tell you honestly whether our program is a fit. You can check out the link in the description, or you can text the number on the screen if you want to explore that. Either way, let's keep going here, because mistake number 5 is what happens when that frustration leads to a really bad decision. Mistake number 5, you're chasing the switch flip. So here's what I mean. You start Reta week number 1, week 2, you don't feel that dramatic appetite shutdown. That's the moment where the cravings just vanish and you think, okay, it's working. So you bump the dose up and then you bump it up again. You're chasing a feeling. And every time you escalate, you're not just increasing one receptor's activity, you're ramping up all 3 at the same time. That's part of the dose escalation trap. On Tirzepatide, aggressive titration is risky. On Reta, it's much more risky because it's a triple agonist. We don't know as much about Reta as we do about Tirzepatide. It's not FDA approved yet, guys, so you are doing something that's more experimental. More nausea, higher heart rate, more thermogenic stress all at the same time. The problem with chasing higher doses is you get into this rhythm where weight loss happens fast and you're using weight and the loss that changes every week as your metric to gauge I'm being successful. But the problem is you end up losing a ton of this and you don't lose as much of this as you're thinking. Sometimes 30 to 50% of the weight that you're losing is muscle when you're chasing the weight loss and you're stuck in that dose escalation trap. So I'll explain that more as the video goes on. I remember I had this patient, Jessica, who spent 8 months on higher doses of Tirzepatide, chasing faster results. She lost about 35 pounds. Sounds great, right? But when we did a body composition scan, a DEXA scan, about a third of it was muscle loss. She was nauseous, brain foggy, exhausted, and that was on the dual agonist Tirzepatide. Imagine that same pattern on a triple agonist where the side effect stacks across an additional receptor system. The goal is not the highest dose. The goal is the lowest effective dose, the therapeutic sweet spot, where Reta is doing its job without your body paying a price that it doesn't need to pay. Finding that sweet spot, that takes patience and monitoring, not escalation every single time. Now, if this just made you rethink your whole dosing approach, you need to hit that subscribe button right now, because we put out 2 GLP-1 videos every single week, and I'm gonna do a deep dive on Retatrutide right now because it's new, it's powerful, and people are making avoidable mistakes on it, and you don't wanna miss what's coming next. Quick minute, I want to tell you guys about the Flow Academy membership. Essentially, this is my private community on Mighty Networks. You'll have access to a community coach, live coaching calls that I do, which are unsolicited. I don't have to market like my free lives. I'm just there to help you guys out as much as possible, and a ton of free resources as well to guide you through the various protocols that I talk about in these videos. So all you got to do if you're interested in joining that is just become a member to this YouTube page, and then there's a link that you can access after you become a member that'll allow you to join the community. Now back to the video. Okay, so here's the other side of this. Some of you aren't chasing a higher dose. You found your dose, the scale just won't move. and you think Reta has stopped working. Mistake number 6, you're staring at the scale and thinking Reta isn't working. This might be the most important mistake on this entire list because this is the one that makes people quit a drug that's actually doing exactly what it's supposed to do, or even worse, start throwing on other peptides because they're freaking out. Now here's what's happening inside your body on Reta. That glucagon receptor is driving fatty mobilization, I promise. It's actively mobilizing fat stores and releasing it to be burned, and at the same time, what we're seeing in our clinic suggests that Reta may have even more favorable ratio of fat loss to muscle preservation compared to Tirzepatide. So what we see is that your body is losing fat and actually preserving more muscle. That's body recomp. And the recomposition doesn't always show up on the scale. You could be losing fat, tightening up, fitting better into your clothes that you haven't worn in years, and the number on the scale barely moves, or it doesn't move at all. I see this in our clinic constantly. Patients come in frustrated. Reta's not working. Tirzepatide's not working. I've been on it for 6 weeks and I've only lost 4 pounds. And then we look at their measurements and their freaking waist is down 1 to 2 inches. Their body fat percentage dropped. Their face looks completely different. The drug is working. The scale is just the wrong scoreboard. If you're on Reta right now and judging your results purely by the number on the scale, you're measuring a recomposition drug with a weight loss metric. Take measurements, at least your waist. Take progress photos. Track how your clothes fit. That's where the real data lies. So let me ask you something honestly here. Before I just told you all that, were you judging your Reta results by the scale? Think about what you've actually been using to measure whether this drug is working for you. Okay, quick question for you now. If you want me to make a full video walking through exactly how we titrate Reta in our clinic, the starting dose, the weekly check-ins, when we hold, when we move, let me know in the comments if that would be helpful to you. Okay, those first 6 mistakes, most of them you can fix on your own just by understanding how Reta works differently. But these last 4, this is where it gets a little more serious, and mistake number 10 is the one that ties this all together. So mistake number 7, you're stacking Reta with other drugs and you have no idea what's actually doing your receptors any good. Let me paint this picture for you. Retatrutide is a triple agonist. It hits GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon. Tirzepatide is the dual agonist. It hits GLP-1 and GIP. So if you stack those 2 together at full dose, you are now stacking 2 of those 3 receptor pathways from 2 separate drugs. GLP-1 stimulation stacked, GIP-1 stimulation stacked, plus glucagon on top of that, at combined doses that have never been studied together. And it gets worse. I'm seeing people in Reta communities combining it with cagrilintide, that's an amylin analog, on top of their Reta, or they're buying pre-mixed vials from some research facility where Reta and Tirzepatide are combined into a single injection. With a pre-mixed vial, you can't adjust one drug without changing the other. You're locked into a fixed ratio that may not be right for your body at all. Now look, we're not anti-stacking. In fact, I have a whole video on strategic stacking with Retatrutide. I'll link to that in the description because that one was a pretty popular video. What peptides to stack with Retatrutide? And Tirzepatide is one of them. There is a smart way to combine these drugs at low doses where they complement each other. But that requires knowing which receptors you're activating and at what doses and monitoring the side effects. What I'm seeing right now is some people panic stacking Tirzepatide on Reta because Reta didn't flip the switch for them fast enough. That's not strategy. That's guessing with a triple agonist. Now, if you switch to Reta from Tirzepatide or semaglutide, let me know in the comments what's different about how it feels, because I'm curious if your experience matches what I'm seeing in our clinic. And when the results slow down from the crash, from the overtraining, from the frustration, people do the most damaging thing of all. They just stop. And that brings us to mistake number 8. You're over-exercising to try to maximize the drug window. I get the logic here. You know, you're on Reta, it's working, the fat's mobilizing. You think if I hit the gym harder right now, I'll get even more out of the window before it's over. So you go from 3 days a week to 6 days a week, you add fasted cardio, you're doing 2-hour sessions trying to squeeze every last pound out of this drug. But remember mistake number 1, your body is already burning more than you think because of that glucagon effect. Your total daily energy expenditure, the amount of calories that you burn at rest, it's elevated. Now you're layering in extreme exercise on top of an already revved up metabolism. The math there, it gets ugly pretty fast. You're creating the exact same calorie crash that we described in mistake number 1, just from the output side instead of the input side, the amount that you're burning compared to what you're eating. And your body responds the same way. It's metabolic down regulation, aka battery saving mode. The weight loss stalls, the energy tanks, and you've just burned through the window of opportunity that you were trying to maximize. The smart move here, moderate, consistent training, 3 to 4 days a week, prioritize resistance training to protect your muscle mass. Let the glucagon effect do the extra metabolic work. That's literally what the drug is for. You don't need to outwork a triple agonist, but what you need to do is work with it. Okay, mistake number 9, you hit your goal weight, or you get frustrated, or you run out of medication. So you just stop. Cold turkey, no taper, no plan. And this is the mistake that underdoes everything. It's not unique to Reta. We see this with semaglutide, tirzepatide patients too. But on Reta, the drop-off can feel even more dramatic because remember that glucagon receptor was was elevating your metabolic rate, driving fat mobilization, keeping your engine running hotter than normal. So when you pull the Reta plug, suddenly that metabolic elevation disappears, your appetite comes back, and your body is now adjusting to a metabolic rate that's just dropped. And the result? Rapid weight regain. Sometimes faster than when people experience coming off tirzepatide or semaglutide because the metabolic cliff is steeper. This is why we build a maintenance plan from the beginning, not when you're already trying to stop. It's called the metabolic independence. The goal is metabolic independence. The goal is never to be on retatrutide forever. Same for any GLP-1 medication, really. The goal, and tell me if you're with me here, let me know in the comments if you agree with me, the goal is to use the drug window to build the habits, heal the metabolism, taper strategically. In our clinic, that looks like stepping down to a microdose, a fraction of your active dose, while we lock in lifestyle pieces, strength training, fasting, nutrition, stress and sleep optimization, so that when the drug comes off, or microdose, you work towards a microdose, your body can sustain the results on its own. If you don't have that plan in mind, if you're not using Reta as a tool, you're using it as a crutch, and crutches only work while you're holding on to them. Can I help you, bro? Okay, before I give you number 10, I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. Do you actually have a plan for what happens when you stop taking your retatrutide or any of your GLP-1s? Or are you just hoping that the results just kind of stick on their own, right? Like, I'm not really thinking about it. I'm kind of ignoring it. It's like you know it's a problem, but you don't want to confront it. Does that sound like a good idea? Let me know if this will be helpful, but should I make a complete breakdown of how we transition Reta patients from the active weight loss to the maintenance phase, including the microdosing strategy? Let me know in the comments if that would be helpful to you. Every mistake that I just covered, from the crash to the dosing to the stacking to the exit plan, they all point to the same conclusion, and that's mistake number 10. And this is the one that makes all 9 of the other mistakes possible. You're treating retatrutide like a simple GLP-1. Think about what we've just covered here today. Reta burns more calories than you realize, so you accidentally starve yourself. The dosing schedule is different, so you copy tirzepatide and you get hammered by side effects. Your heart rate is elevated and you're ignoring it. Your cravings don't disappear the way they did on tirzepatide, so you think the drug failed. You escalated the dose too fast. You misread body recomposition as a plateau. You stack drugs with zero safety data. You overtrain on top of an already revved up metabolism. And when you've had enough, you quit cold turkey with no exit strategy. Every single one of those mistakes has the same root cause. You're treating a triple agonist like it's a single agonist. You're applying the semaglutide playbook to a drug that just plays fundamentally different rules. Reta is one of the most complex GLP-1 medications available right now. We are still learning a ton of it. Again, it is not FDA approved. It is an experimental use case. 3 receptors, cardiac effects, body recomposition dynamics, stacking considerations, a steeper metabolic cliff when you stop. This is not a drug that you figure out by reading Reddit threads and adjusting your own doses in the bathroom mirror. This is a drug that demands professional supervision. Someone monitoring your heart rate, tracking your body composition, not just your weight, managing your titration based on how your body responds, planning your microdosing strategy from day number 1, and having a medical team that actually understands how a triple agonist behaves differently than everything else on the market. That's what we do every single day, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about here. If you're on Reta right now and any of this hit home with you, whether it's the crash from undereating, the dosing confusion, the heart rate that you've been ignoring, the cravings that don't match what you expected, or the fact that you have no plan for what happens when you stop, we got you. So here's what happens when you reach out to my team. You'll get to talk to one of our patient educators, not a salesperson. They're gonna walk through your full history, what you've tried, what's frustrated you, what your long-term goals actually look like. They'll give you an honest overview of what it looks like to work with me, our coaches, our medical team, including programs and pricing. I wanna be clear, there is a sales opportunity, but I mean it when I say this is not a salesperson. There's no pressure. This is a clarity and opportunity for you to figure out whether you like what I'm saying, and I'm here whether you want my help or not. But I just wanted to let you know that that opportunity is there for you, and you gotta talk to somebody to kind of go through that process. If that sounds like something you want to explore, you can check out the link in the description, or you can text the number on the screen to book a free discovery call. And if you're not ready for that, that's completely fine. You can always become a subscriber to the YouTube channel, by the way. $40 a month, and you get access to the Mighty Networks platform, which is an awesome opportunity to at least dip your toes into our community and get some exposure to some of my group coaching calls. This is different than what I do when I go live and have to market every 15 minutes because it's free. That's a private group coaching call where it's just me and you guys and I'm answering questions. So you could actually just subscribe to YouTube, or I think it's become a member to YouTube if you're interested in that. And by the way, speaking of that retatrutide stacking video, you're probably gonna wanna see that one. So there it is right there. Enjoy, guys. We'll see you later.